Welcome back, and now for the news in detail. In the occupied Kashmir, Indian troops have martyred 3 more youths, raising the toll to 28 in this month so far. The civilians were martyred during a cordon and search operation in the Turkwangam area of the Shopanya district. The occupied forces say the operation is still going on in the area. This is the 4th incident of extrajudicial killing of innocent Kashmiris in district Shopanya in less than 10 days. The occupied Delhi has been under New Delhi's crushing curfew and communication blackout for the past 313 days. Pakistan has recorded its highest one-day death toll as 111 more people lost their lives. The death toll has risen to 2,839. The Ministry of Health says 4,443 new cases were reported during the past 24 hours. This takes the tally of infections to nearly 149,000. Officials said the recoveries have crossed 56,000, while there are more than 89,000 active cases in the country. Health officials say Punjab and Sindh province have both reported over 55,000 infections. Khyber Pakhtunkhwa has more than 18,000 cases now. Balochistan some 8,000, and the capital city Islamabad has more than 8,800 cases. Gilgit-Baltistan as Azad Jammu and Kashmir have collectively reported some 1,800 cases. The number of coronavirus cases worldwide has crossed 8 million, with the death count topping 436,000. Brazil reported 627 fatalities in the past 24 hours, taking the countrywide tally to nearly 44,000. In the US, 390 more people lost their lives, with the toll over 116,000. More in this report.
As the world takes action to revive economies, the World Health Organization has warned countries to stay alert on the possibility of a second wave of COVID-19. New clusters of cases have emerged in Beijing, and more than 100,000 cases are being reported across the world every day. The Chinese capital has put more neighbors under lockdown and boosted testing as it tries to contain the outbreak.
The number of new cases reported in Beijing in the next 3 days is crucial to predict how the epidemic situation in the city would evolve. The first confirmed case in Beijing was reported on June 11. The city then initiated responses on June 12 and 13, within time and effective measures. For those who have been infected, if they were going to show some symptoms, it would be on tomorrow or the day after.
New Zealand has confirmed 2 new cases of coronavirus, ending a 24-day streak of no new infections in the country. Both cases recently arrived from the UK and were given a special exemption to attend a funeral. Meanwhile, the Brussels airport unveiled new safety measures as Europe starts easing border control, with COVID-19 cases declining after 3 months of lockdown. Airport staff will now check the body temperature of outbound passengers before they enter the airport.
So only people who have less than 38 degrees may enter the building, but also, the mouth masks, which are mandatory, have to be worn by all passengers and staff. We've also installed a lot of stickers reminding social distancing to every passengers at various steps in the airport process.
Elsewhere in Bangladesh, with more than 7,000 police officers infected, officials have turned to yoga to boost immunity and relieve stress.
In central Mali, gunmen killed 24 soldiers while 20 others are missing after an ambush on their convoy about 60 miles from the border with Mauritania. The army said 8 survivors were found following the attack. The army said a search is underway to determine the fate of soldiers who are still missing. It said several vehicles came under attack and 4 have been completely destroyed. No group has accepted the responsibility for the attack yet. Israel says its warplanes have targeted multiple locations on the Gaza Strip. The Israeli Defense Ministry says it struck Hamas underground infrastructure and military posts in retaliation to rocket fire. No casualties have been reported so far. It was the first time Hamas militants fired a rocket towards Israel since May the 6th. The raids come after Hamas senior official called for unity among Palestinians and resistance against Israeli annexation plans. Salah al-Bardoli said Palestinian unity is the bedrock of national strength to avert the annexation. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says certain areas in the occupied West Bank may be annexed in stages rather than in a single step. In a meeting with the retired military officials, Netanyahu discussed the annexation plan of illegal settlements in the West Bank and the Jordan Valley. Netanyahu has expressed his desire to annex up to 30% of the West Bank. But Israeli Defense Minister Benny Gantz and Foreign Minister Gabi Ashkenazi reportedly are not in favor of the proposal. Netanyahu said the US asked him to get Gantz and Ashkenazi approval for every step he would take to implement the plan. Netanyahu has announced to begin the controversial annexation plan from July the 1st. The Arab coalition fighting in Yemen says it will take rigorous measures to stop Houthi attacks on Saudi Arabia. Coalition spokesman Turki al-Maliki made the remarks after Riyadh intercepted drones launched by the rebels towards the Asir region. Al-Maliki said the Houthis deliberately targeted civilians. He said the coalition was taking all the necessary measures to protect the Saudi Arabia citizens. Monday's attack came just 2 days after the coalition intercepted a Houthi missile which targeted the Saudi city of Najran. Meanwhile, Houthis said 13 people were killed in an airstrike by the coalition in northern Yemen. Yemen has been entangled in violence and chaos since 2014 after Houthis overran much of the country, including the capital, Sana'a. The UN has removed a Saudi-led military coalition from its annual blacklist. In a report, Secretary General Antonio Guterres said the delisting follows a sustained significant decrease in killing and maiming due to airstrikes. Guterres said the coalition killed 222 children in Yemen last year, while the Houthi rebels were responsible for 313 such casualties. He said the coalition will be monitored for a year, and any failure to further lower child casualties will result in it being listed again. The Saudi-led military coalition has officially been on the blacklist for the past 3 years. The head of the International Atomic Energy Agency says Iran must provide prompt access to 2 of its nuclear sites. Speaking in Vienna, agency chief Mariano Grossi said he is deeply concerned over Iran's non-cooperation with international inspections. The IAEA chief said he had made his case with senior Iranian authorities. He said further cooperation is needed as there is a disagreement between the Atomic Agency and Iran. In March, IAEA issued a report warning Iran of failing to answer questions about past nuclear activities and for denying access to them. Earlier, Foreign Ministry spokesman Abbas Moussavi said Iran will respond if the IAEA makes a non-constructive decision against it. North Korea has threatened to re-enter the demilitarized border areas over propaganda leaflets. The General Staff of the Korean People's Army said it is ready to take any measures ordered by Pyongyang's leadership. The KPA said it is devising an action plan to reopen the frontline regions and waters off the southwest coast. It said the military action plans will be presented to the party's Central Military Commission for approval. Meanwhile, South Korea says it is coordinating with the US to monitor and detect Pyongyang's military moves. Seoul's defense ministry said the military was prepared for any circumstances but urged Pyongyang to respect inter-Korean pacts. In the US, demonstrations calling for racial equality have their 21st day following a recent spate in police brutality. Protesters in Washington, Atlanta, and New York called for criminal justice reform after police murders of George Floyd and Rayshard Brooks. In Georgia, the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People organized a march calling for an end to systematic racism. Elsewhere, New York Police Department has disbanded its aggressive anti-crime unit, while police unions in California pledged to root out racist officers. Fresh inquiries have also been launched in the state into the deaths of 2 black men found hanging from the trees which were initially ruled as suicides. US President Donald Trump has called on Washington Governor Jay Inslee to deploy the National Guard to quell protesters in Seattle.
And you have a governor that doesn't do a damn thing about it, and you have a mayor that doesn't know she's alive. She's talking about it's going to be a love fest this summer. Now, if they don't do the job, I'll do the job, and I've already spoken to the Attorney General about it. But if they don't do the job, we will do the job.
In the United States, a Congress watchdog says the Trump administration is hampering oversight of over $1 trillion in pandemic stimulus funds. In a letter to congressional leaders, the Pandemic Response Accountability Committee listed the latest efforts by White House to limit transparency. The watchdog has been tasked by Congress to detect fraud and misuse of federal aid. But Treasury Department officials say it is beyond the agency's scope and jurisdiction to probe or provide oversight of the fund. PRAC leaders say this legal opinion from the Treasury officials could hurt the group's ability to properly oversee a huge area of taxpayer-funded aid programs. More stories to follow, but right after a short break. Stay tuned. Welcome back. The UK says it is deeply disappointed by Russia's verdict and sentence against a former US Marine convicted of spying for Washington. In a statement, Foreign Secretary Dominic Raab said Britain has serious reservations about the legal process. Raab said the UK will continue to provide consular support to Whelan and his family and press the Russian authorities to respect his basic rights. The jailed Paul Whelan holds US, British, Canadian and Irish passports. Earlier, the US also called for the immediate release of Whelan from Russia, expressing outrage on his conviction. This comes as a Russian court sentenced Whelan to 16 years in prison for espionage. Russia has sent a protest note to Ukraine following what it has called another Russophobic action outside its embassy on June 12th. Russia's foreign ministry said Kiev's actions show its unwillingness to ensure normal operation of diplomatic missions. Moscow said Russia and Ukraine are both signatories of the 1961 Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations, which must be respected. The ministry said a series of insulting Russophobic images were projected on the building of the Russian embassy with the consent of the authorities. It said Russia hopes that Ukraine will finally take due measures to prevent any insulting actions. The US Supreme Court has declined to take up a series of new cases seeking to expand gun rights. The court rejected a total of 10 different cases that had piled up at the court in recent months. Two justices said they would have heard one of the cases, a dispute from New Jersey over the state's concealed carry guns permits. In the New Jersey case, the justices left in place a lower court ruling that threw out a lawsuit challenging the state's law. The legislation mandated that people who want to carry handguns in public must show they have a special reason before they can get a permit. Other cases the court declined to take up included challenges to assault weapon bans in Massachusetts and Cook County, Illinois. A US Air Force fighter jet has crashed off the coast of northeast England, killing the pilot. In a statement, the Air Force said British Coast Guards have located the wreckage of the plane. The F-15C Eagle from the 48th Fighter Wing was on a routine training mission. Only the pilot was on board. The aircraft was from RAF Lakenheath, the largest US Air Force operated base in England. In the US, residents were forced to evacuate as a brush fire rapidly grew out of control near San Luis Obispo City. The California Department of Forestry and Fire Protection says the blaze near Avila Beach quickly spread to engulf 400 acres. It said the northeastern area is the most threatened by the blaze, but residents in adjoining areas have also been told to evacuate. There are no reports of deaths or injuries. The department said it is not yet clear what started the blaze. The Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences has delayed the 93rd Oscar Awards ceremony by 2 months. The event, originally scheduled for February 28th, will now be held on 25th of April 2021 instead. The Academy Awards have been rescheduled for the first time in 4 decades due to the coronavirus outbreak. The Academy has also extended the deadline by which movies can be released for nominations. The new window has been extended until February 28, 2021, while submission deadlines have also shifted back. Last time, the Oscars were postponed in 1981 when the ceremony was delayed for 24 hours because of an assassination attempt on President Ronald Reagan. MARTYR Robotics has developed its Ugo robot to reinforce Japan's shrinking workforce. But as the coronavirus threat persists, the Japanese startup is offering its machine as a tool in the fight against the outbreak.
For better or worse, robots are going to replace many humans in their jobs, and the coronavirus outbreak is speeding up the process. MARTYR Robotics Ugo is a pair of height-adjustable robotic arms mounted on wheels, operated remotely through a wireless connection with a laptop and game controller. It is being used for coronavirus-related demand.
We have been receiving many inquiries from overseas, including Singapore and France, about how it can be used for coronavirus.
The latest feature of the so-called Avatar robot is a hand attachment that uses ultraviolet light to kill viruses on door handles.
Originally, we didn't intend on having the sterilizing function, but as people began to practice social distancing and avoiding the 3 C's, the robot gained a lot of attention, and we have received many inquiries because it can go to places and operate on its own instead of humans. So we decided to develop the UTC sterilization band.
Ugo, which costs around $1,000 a month to rent, can be deployed as a security guard, while it can carry out equipment inspections and clean toilets and other areas in office buildings. The 2-year-old startup so far has only one Ugo operating at an office building in Tokyo.
Lows in the highs of the business world, shares in Asia have jumped as investors reacted to recent positive announcements by central banks. The Nikkei 225 in Japan surged over 4% as the shares of robot maker Fanuc skyrocketed almost 6%. The Topix index advanced over 3.5%. Over in South Korea, the Kospi soared over 4%. Hong Kong's Hang Seng index gained almost 3%. Mainland Chinese stocks were also higher, with the Shanghai Composite and Shenzhen component up by nearly 1%. Another weather situation from around the globe. And that's all for now. For the latest updates, you can follow us on social media at Indus.